Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for One Piece chapter 1033. When we last left our heroes, chaos was continuing to ensue all throughout Onigashima. Specifically, we had some more encounters with CP0, as the Yamato, Fuga, Drake, Apu scene coincided with Robin, Brook, and CP0, and Kazenbo, who also was in the room for a hot second. Yamato, allied with Fuga the number to go bring down Kazenbo from getting to the armory, because I guess Fuga's on Yamato's side. Fuga's not really enough of a character for me to know what's going on with him. Drake and Apu, though, see CP0. Apu tried to take some pictures to sell them to Morgans for a profit. And so CP0 turns on both him and Drake, who's just kind of there at the wrong time. CP0 is also aware that he's an undercover Marine, but that doesn't really seem to faze them. So Drake and Apu tag team against CP0, allowing Robin and Brook to kind of get away for the moment, it looks like. Meanwhile, Zoro is fighting King. He's not doing a great job of it, not getting a lot of damage done. A little bit here and there, but not a lot. And Zoro becomes convinced that he's not able to figure out, he won't be able to beat King until he figures out what exactly is up with King's abilities. As he figures that all of King's abilities come from his Devil Fruit, he's not really caught up with the whole Lunarian thing yet. But then, his sword, the new sword, Enma, starts draining his armament Haki again, weakening him, as he hears a shamisen playing. The same shamisen, it seems, that Orochi hears when he crawls into the next room and finds Hiyori dressed back up as Komurasaki. And that's where we leave off. So let's dive right on into chapter 1033, Shimotsuki Kozaburo. Our picture here is of Tashigi dressed as a bad guy getting defeated by baby penguins playing heroes. It's adorable. We got Smoker in the background. All I really want to say is, Oda, bring back Smoker and Tashigi. Not right now, because there is too much going on in Wano as it is. We don't need Smoker and Tashigi as well, just to really ramp it all up. But, you can bring them back, Oda. I miss them. They're good. But yeah, it's cute. Chapter 1033, Shimotsuki Kozaburo. We open back with Zoro versus King, still outside the dome, as Zoro rages, Enma! Who gave you permission to unleash your power? And he clutches back onto Enma, and King taunts him. I'm not quite sure if that panel there is Zoro kind of taming Enma again, or if it's just their conflict is continuing still. But King taunts Zoro, what's wrong? Having an argument? And he charges back towards Zoro. Zoro's getting kind of exhausted now, since he also has to fight his own damn sword. And Zoro looks at him, huh? And we see King just stands there in front of Zoro. And Zoro reacts, what do you think you're doing? And he tries to stab King, but it doesn't really seem to do a whole lot of damage. I think that's with Enma also. And his arm is now Haki-less. So I think he's kind of back to normal, I think. But also his arm looks really frail and it's shaking. It's not a good sign, I don't think. But King just notes, jackpot. And Zoro looks at him, huh? And then there's an explosion. Okay. Probably ties in with his fire powers that we've seen before. And then we come back, we leave them there. Left Brain Tower, Skull Dome, and the Pleasure Hall. Sanji versus Queen. And Queen last, and this might be right after the phone call, which I think is the last time we saw Zoro or last time we saw Sanji and Queen. And Queen last, mwahaha! That was Pirate Hunter on the snail just now, wasn't it? Trust me, he can't beat King. And Sanji sort of takes that in, just glares at him. That guy's a remnant of the extinct Lunarians. A monster capable of surviving in any natural environment. In the distant past, his people were known as gods. And we have this random shot of the battle, of the background character battles in the background. I will say, though, there's that of the extinct Lunarians, a monster capable of surviving in any natural environment. I'm tying all of this back up with the moon people from Enel's cover story, because I think there's a connection there. Just with, lunar and moon. And that would mean, because wasn't there, I'm trying to remember that. that backstory, that cover story from like 15 years ago. Because wasn't there a whole civilization that did not seem to be built by the moon people because it was a hell of a lot bigger than them? Could that have been the Lunarians? They can survive in any natural environment. They can even survive without air on the moon? I don't know. Sanji presses, and why would they have died out? And Queen asks, you want to know? Go ask a history book. And he readies another beam attack. I will say, could that be part of the Void Century? Because I figure if there's a whole race of moon people that no one knows about, that feels Void Century-ish, right? But there's also Go Ask a History Book, which there aren't in the Void Century, unless Queen is just kind of mocking. I don't know. And we see another... Oh, no, we leave that there after that one page. We come back to Zoro and King. Zoro has survived. That was close. I'd be dead if I hadn't put up my armament Haki in time. But he's still blown back a good way, and King is still just standing there. But how's he still alive? He blew himself up, and he draws one sword style. Ei, Death Lion Song! And he slashes at King in what, in a lot of moments, might have been a victory pose, though I highly doubt, or, final end of the fight pose, with King sort of being slashed and face all up like that. But here I highly doubt it is. And King sort of steams for a minute, and Zoro looks back at him in shock. And King is fine. He's doing the whole stretching the head again. Huh? He's not phased at all. And King readies Imperial, and Zoro just reacts. But that last one was a way better attack. And then he draws Enma again, and Enma goes right back to draining his Haki. Wait, Enma, stop! Deep pride? Not now! Stake! And Zoro, he's caught by it. Only grazed, only gets his side. But he is still hit by that attack. And he coughs up blood. He's sent flying, it looks like. And King mocks him. A swordsman held back by his own sword. That's a new one. And he sees one of the swords is falling. He grabs it. He attacks with a third. And then he flashes back to when he first got I think Enma, when he's talking with Tengu guy. You already wield Kitetsu the Third. That is one of mine. What, really? And then way back to Logetown, when he first has Kitetsu, this sword's bewitched. And the shopkeep reacts, are you a fool? I can't sell you that sword. If you died, it'd be like I killed you myself. And then that famous Zoro scene, I'll take it. And then... So what I guess happened is Zoro grabbed the sword, but grabbing the sword left him open to an attack by King. Because King says, you're going to die just to save your sword? And Zoro is then smashing into the ground. He picks himself up. That felt hot. And then he sees Watawichi Monji, which is just sort of sitting there. I think. He finds it in the rubble. Oh, good. You didn't fall off, Watawichi Monji. I will say, the Zoro sword lore is the kind of stuff I just really can't keep straight. It's only because we have these flashbacks that I know which sword is which. Because we flash back to way back, Zoro's very first flashback in like chapter 5. Sensei, may I have her sword? I suppose so. And it's like still Kuina's funeral like still set up. I'll have to keep the promise for both of us. I'm going to become such a great master swordsman that my name will be known even in heaven. And then we flash back to Tengu guy again. It must be some twist of fate. You see, that white blade, Watawichi Monji, and Enma were both crafted by the same man, the blacksmith, Shimotsuki Kozaburo, who is also our chapter title. And then Zoro thinks, it all came so sudden, I wasn't putting it together. Why would there be a famous katana of Wano in some tiny village of the East Blue? Are we finally getting Zoro backstory? Is that what's about to happen now? Like, deeper Zoro backstory? Is that it? But King is not going to let us have that. Imperial slings and arrows. Do you have all 3 swords yet? And he does, seemingly. He wields Enma again, but no. He reaches for Enma. And as he's reaching for Enma, he blocks it with, I think, this Kitetsu. But Enma is still draining his Haki at the same time. And King goes down for another attack. And Zoro blocks him with one of his swords. I'm guessing Kitetsu still. And falls into the dome proper. He's outside the dome, and King's attack breaks open the floor. He falls through into the building. And he has this flashback with Momo. So Rojuro, I was told not to say Sanachi. And it's another point somewhere in this arc. Early Wano is so long ago at this point, I can't keep track of when exactly this moment was. But Zoro tells him, it's just something the old guy in my village told me. I've never said it before myself. What? And we see this flashback. The old man was always sitting there. Zoro is still following. He flashes back to his childhood. The old man was always sitting there at the coast. I never knew his name. It wasn't until the day he died that I learned he was Kuina's grandpa. Okay. So now we're getting somewhere. We're really getting somewhere. I don't know. I guess because that flashback, the original Zoro flashback from 20 years ago, is so not terribly long. I always pictured it was a pretty short amount of time. I guess it was a longer time if he knew her long enough to be there when her grandpa died. I guess. I don't know. Tengu guy continues. The blacksmith Shimotsuki Kozaburo. He broke the laws and left this land over 50 years ago. And Zoro at this point has landed on the ground. And now we're in full-on flashback town. 13 years ago, East Blue, Zoro's hometown, Frost Moon, or Shimotsuki Village. Which of course ties in with Kuina and her father and Kozaburo all being Shimotsukis. At the dojo, we see, I guess that's Zoro and Kuina training together. And the old man, who I'm going to go on a limb here and say is Kozaburo, says, out on the cliffside, yes, Sanachi. It is a magic word that summons strength into your heart. And Zoro just tells him, well, that sounds weird. I don't need it. It's more of an off-the-cuff sort of way. And he sort of changes topics. Anyway, old man, is it true? You used to be a samurai? And that gets his attention. Everybody at the dojo was saying it. He's literally just labeled old man of the village. But we can guess who he is. Well, hush up about it, or the Navy will come and invade the village. And Zoro reacts, the Navy? Why? Also, yeah, why? What was Wano doing 50 years ago that would get Kozaburo wanted by the Navy? Or are all samurai wanted by the Navy? But why? Anyway, he tells Zoro, none of your business, that's why. Get lost. Sheesh, fine. Stubborn old fart. And Zoro goes right back to whacking the training poles, I guess. As Kozaburo watches him. And Kozaburo is fishing this whole time. Is the dojo boring to you? I lost to Kuina again. I need more practice. And then Kozaburo just gives him some swords. And Zoro reacts, what? But I can't pay for these. And Kozaburo tells him, I'm giving them to you. Trust me, they're crap. It's the only thing I seem to be able to forge anymore. Use them for practice if you want. I'm curious why, there seems to be there's something there. In Kozaburo's, the only things he can forge are crap now. I don't know. I just don't know. It's a new flashback. Who knows where this is all going. And Kozaburo unsheaths the sword. Listen closely. A sword's like a kitchen knife, but for murder. They're created to kill people. And a blacksmith hones his craft so that his weapons are better at killing than any other. Maybe he's just sort of become anti-sword. And so that's why his new swords are all really bad. But Zoro reacts to that with a yikes. A sword has its own personality. A swordsman must master it and bend it to his will. You think a dangerous sword is cursed? No. That's the sign of great quality. When the weak fear a sword and call it cursed, that is a badge of honor. They should be frightening. They're meant to cause terrible harm. This feels like like a kind of callback to that first Kitetsu scene way back in Logetown. It's Zoro sort of taming Kitetsu when it doesn't cut him. I don't know. Let's keep going. There was one blade I crafted when I was a young man. It was the greatest weapon I ever made. Its disposition was deadly serious. Just holding it in your hands sent a shiver down the spine. So I gave that masterpiece the name of the king who watches over hell. So yeah, we see him talking about Enma. This is, in case there was any doubt, it was Kozaburo. But yeah, that's just trying to think this through for a minute. I don't know. This flashback's placement, like if we're gonna get a Zoro flashback now, I figured it would be, a little bigger than just this. I'm not entirely sure what a Zoro flashback would be. Like why there's a whole crew of Wano evacuees. If it were 20 years ago, if Kozaburo left 20 years ago with the rise of Kaido, that'd be one thing. But 50 years ago? What happened 50 years ago that made him leave? I feel like this flashback didn't really give us a lot of answers. It just gave us sort of more questions, which I don't know. And Zoro flashes back to that and he looks at it. The king of the underworld. Enma. My village is named for Shimotsuki. Was it not a coincidence after all? And he flashes back some village kids. Did you know our village was built by pirates? That's what my grandma said. Was he a pirate? What? And then another scene with the earlier scene we saw with Tengu, the blacksmith Shimotsuki Kozaburo. He broke the laws and left this land over 50 years ago. And Zoro continues to think, so the old man was a samurai of Wano. The blacksmith Shimotsuki Kozaburo? And we cut back to Kozaburo. A great blade can see into you. It chooses only the swordsman who best suits it. And then back to the old shopkeep. A sword chooses its wielder. And Zoro looks at Enma. It came to me. It chose me. So it could test me. And he grabs Enma. Still his haki being drained into it. A sword is honest and direct, not wicked. Yes, it's true. It was my strength that was lacking. Does this mean, even with so much haki being drained away, Odin wielded you as though you were light as a feather, Enma? Oh, so hold on. So Enma is constantly draining haki. But why wasn't it draining his haki for a long while now? It hasn't been draining his haki. What's up with that? If this panel is implying, what I think is implying, that Enma is just constantly draining haki like this, why wasn't it doing it between, Zoro first taming it and now? I don't know. Anyway, just then, they're inside now. A bunch of beast pirates find them. Look, it's Pirate Hunter! And there's King! Let us take him out, sir. I can really use the promotion. And Zoro is just sort of ignoring them. King has noticed them. Zoro hasn't. How should I stabilize my haki then? If I have to keep exuding it at this level, it'll kill me. And he looks over. Oh, hold on. The beast pirates all start to foam at the mouth and pass out. Zoro's just unlocked Conqueror's haki. But no, that's perfect. And they all fall over. And King acknowledges that. I see. So you intend to be a king then? And Zoro, now all three of his swords are aflame. What? And he flashes back to that very, chapter 2 with Luffy. The world's greatest swordsman. That's great. And it's fitting. Since your new boss is going to be the king of the pirates. Anything else would make me look bad. And then Zoro greets him. Stares straight ahead at King with renewed determination. That's right. I've got a promise to keep to my captain. And my best friend. To be continued. Okay. Alright. So like I said, sword lore is not exactly what I'm here for in One Piece. It's one of the things I really don't think about too much. But there is still a lot of fun to be had here. It's mostly all King versus Zoro. We get a single page of Queen versus Sanji. That's really just, even then, still about King versus Zoro in the end. But largely, Zoro kind of getting Enma under control as it just continually drains his armament Haki. And I'm guessing the solution in the end is that it will kill him if he uses armament Haki, but somehow Conqueror's Haki works differently enough that it doesn't kill him. It just like it turns into a bit more of a better partnership between Zoro and Enma. But yeah, that moment of Zoro like starting to think, how am I going to do this? And then it's that sort of confidence, that idea he can do it. He just has to work out how. I think is what gives him the strength, or somehow activates his Conqueror's Haki. And Conqueror's Haki ends up being the answer. He looks stabilized once he's using Conqueror's Haki instead of armament to fuel Enma. I think that's what's going on there. It's not quite really stated one way or the other, but yeah, Zoro just sort of seemed to be on top here, as he's gathered the strength to sort of control, not just control Enma, but it looks like his other weapons are also infused with Conqueror's Haki. Which means that like what Luffy just kind of had to really struggle in that earlier Kaido fight, 25 chapters ago or so, Zoro just kind of does. You know, no real attempt. All of a sudden his swords are filled with Conqueror's Haki. Good for him. And of course that great line, I've got a promise to keep to my captain and my best friend, that ends it. I am definitively not any kind of One Piece shipper whatsoever. I think there's really no ships I give a damn about in One Piece. But I'm sure the Zolus are real happy with that line right there. Beyond that, though, we see a bit more of Zoro's past. And it's not really much in terms of, like, Zoro backstory, as much as it is, like, a lesson, I guess. Being reminded that, like, you know, a sword isn't wicked or evil or good, it just is. And it's up to you to sort of control its personality. I don't know. Again, the sword lore, I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's just kind of there in the end for me. But that last panel, that's right. I've got a promise to keep to my captain and my best friend. That's the good shit. That is the good shit right there. And yeah, I can't really wait to see how this plays out now that Zoro is, you know, even stronger with his Conqueror's Haki swords. I think this is going to be the moment that, I think, you know, next time we check in on Zoro versus King, might be next chapter, might not be. I think it's going to be the chapter where Zoro wins this fight. And, you know, we really start to see Wano ending its big endgame fights. Like, it really does feel like Wano is slowly but surely getting closer and closer to that final chapter. And yeah, I can't wait to see how it all plays out. So, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, you know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!